On the surface, it's the story of an orphan girl who becomes queen, wins a beauty contest, and then uses her newfound power to save her people from destruction. But beneath the surface, it's a story of courage, divine timing, and purpose. Hi, and welcome to the first episode of our series where we reimagine the stories you already know and love in all new ways. Let's dive into the story of Esther. Our story begins with young Esther living happily with her cousin Mordecai after their parents were killed when Esther was just a baby. They live in the ancient kingdom of Persia, also known as Iran, where King Ahasuerus rules over 127 provinces. Now, this king is pretty famous for two things. One is his massive empire, and secondly, his not-so-great decisions regarding women. See, he had a wife named Vashti, but she was the kind of woman who didn't take any guff from anyone, including the king. So when he asked her to do something, she refused, and instead of taking no for an answer, the king banished her from the kingdom. Now, word got around the kingdom that the king was looking for a new queen, and people from all over came to the capital to enter the contest. And while Esther was hesitant at first, her cousin Mordecai convinced her that it was God's plan for her to become queen. You see, Mordecai believed that God had a special plan for Esther, even if she didn't understand it yet. But this beauty contest was no walk in the park. There were many girls, all vying for the same prize. And one of them was wicked and jealous, quick to make a friend and even quicker to turn on them. Her name was Sephora, and she wanted to be the queen more than anything else in the world. In fact, she would stop at nothing to get what she wants. As the contest began, girl after girl was brought before the king, but Esther waited patiently, knowing that her time would come soon enough. When it was finally her turn, she walked into the king's court. All the advisors and officials stood up as she approached, and when she reached the king, he was immediately smitten. She was everything he had ever wanted in a queen and more. He placed the crown on her head and they celebrated with a banquet fit for a queen. But behind the scenes, Sephora was fuming. She couldn't believe that she didn't win the contest, and she vowed to get revenge on Esther. As the weeks turned into months, Sephora's jealousy grew, and she began to plot her revenge. She found out that Haman, one of the king's most trusted advisors, hated Jews, and she convinced him to help her plot. Together, they came up with a plan to invite the king to a banquet and then secretly drug his wine. That way, when the king was at his most vulnerable, they would kill him and frame it as an accident. Then Sephora would become queen and everything would be hers. As the day of the banquet approached, Esther knew something was wrong. She could feel it in her gut, but she couldn't put her finger on it. When she asked her servant, the girl told her about the plot and how Sephora planned to kill the king. Esther was horrified, but she knew she had to act fast. If she didn't do something, the king would be dead and Sephora would take the throne. Thinking quickly, Esther invited her enemies to a small dinner party where she served them the same drugged wine that they had planned to serve the king. But instead of killing the king, the wine made Haman extremely ill. In fact, he became so sick that he crawled around the palace begging for mercy. And when the king found out what had happened, he was furious. He ordered that Haman be put to death and that Sephora be banished from the kingdom. In the end, Esther saved the king's life and her people from destruction. And as for her, she lived happily ever after. The moral of this story is that even when we are scared, we have to be brave. We don't always know why bad things happen, but we can trust that God has a plan and that everything will work out for the best. We may not be able to control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we react. And when we face our fears and act bravely, we can accomplish amazing things. Just like Esther, we may not know what the future holds, but we can trust that God is with us every step of the way. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and join us next time for more adventures. Until then, remember to be kind to others, even when they are different from you. And always remember, you are braver than you think.